Hi class, I'm looking at our basics program that we finished in the last video. Just a quick update that these are named parameters here, where we have the arg0 colon, arg1 colon, arg2 colon. So in this case, we're just saying that this parameter is named that. So we'll be looking at all this code as we go. Now I wanted to close this project, our basics project. Let's do it. And I want to create a new one. So I'll say open folder. And in my code folder, in chapter 2, I want to create a secondary basics folder because I have just a little bit more I would like to add. So I'm going to do a new folder and say basic variables. And I'm going to select that folder. And in that folder, I'm going to go ahead and close our get started. You can uncheck this box if you don't want that to open all the time. But in our basic variables, let's open a terminal and create our project. I want it to be a .NET 5 project, so I'll enter the command with the -- framework net 5.0 parameter. Now it's created my project, so I'm going to open my program.cs file, find my C# code, and I'm going to add, well yes, I would like to include those, and I'm going to add a block comment at the top for the information about my program. Our purpose here is to explore some variable definitions. Let's label our curly braces. Our opening ones are usually pretty identifiable. Those closing ones, I'm going to go to the very last one and mark that this is the end of our namespace. The one above it is the end of our class. And the one above that is the end of our name. So now we can identify where we are within our code file. And we want to be right here in the line of code that has to do with our main method. The first thing I'm going to do is just replace this console.writeLine statement with a new statement. I'm going to create a variable. This variable is going to be a data type char. In C#, we always indicate the data type of the variable is the first thing. Next, we have the variable name. This variable is going to be named letter. Because it's a char data type, I have to use single quotes when I define its value. And it's going to be equal to the letter A. This is an example of assigning a literal value to a variable, just saying it's the letter A. Now if I wanted to, I could create a char digit. I could give it a number. It would still be a char, and it would look at the ASCII code conversion table to determine what its value was if I tried to make it some other data type. I could set up a symbol is a char. I could also create a variable to hold what a user typed, like user choice. And I could set it equal to some value that was returned by a method, like get keystroke. That would be how I would assign the value from a function. We don't have that function in our code, so we'll have to comment this line of code out, or it'll give us an error. But we can continue experimenting with things. Let's create a string. We'll create a string variable called first name. I'll set it equal to Bob. Hey Bob. I'm going to create another string, last name. We'll set it equal to Smith. Bob has a really common name. And we could set up a string for like our phone number. Some people would say, well, a phone number should be a number. Well, oftentimes we put special formatting characters in them that make them not be valid as numbers. Now, each of these variables has been declared, so it's being allocated space in memory. That named space in memory has been associated with a given value. We don't have to do that. We could declare a variable without giving it a value. Here I'm going to set up a string that is the full name with a tab separator. Now when I look at this variable in my program, Bob \T Smith, it looks like Bob Smith just has a weird \T in the middle of his name. But what will happen when that's formatted to print, the \T is interpreted as a control code or an escape sequence, and it equates to the tab key on the keyboard. So we'd see a tab stop in between Bob's first name and last name when that printed out. We can look at those escape sequences in a little bit different of a light. Let's say we have a variable that we want to be able to hold a file name. The file name is on our C drive, so we start it with C colon, and then we do a backslash because that's the normal separator in file names. Television, Sony, Bravia. We're going to find a text file here. Now when we do that, we get errors, and what we're seeing is it interprets this \T as a tab stop. \S is not any valid control code, so it doesn't know how to interpret that, and it interprets the \B into like a break character or something. So we're not getting the correct results. If we want to get the correct results, we have to turn this into a verbatim string. I'll put a comment above this. With a verbatim string, we're going to tell the compiler to take the string exactly as is without converting any control codes or escape sequences, and we specify that by putting an @ sign before our double quote. And that makes our string into a verbatim string. taken as is. The string above that is a literal string. It's taken as literally as it was entered. So the \T must mean tab. Let's create another variable. This time it'll be a double. We'll say let the height in meters variable become equal to the value 1.88. We'll set up our variable. It's a double. Height in meters, kind of will yield Englishy there, and we want to set that equal to a value 1.88. So that's what that line of code does. Now if we wanted to print that out, we can do our console.writeLine, and in our console.writeLine we'll say I want to use a special kind of string. I want to use an interpolated string, and that string starts with a $sign. Now, in this interpolated string, I want to output the message, the variable, and then I'd like to output the name of my variable. So I'm going to use a special type, the name of type, and say I would like to get the name of the height in meters variable. So far my output is going to say the variable and then whatever the name of my variable is, and the variable is height in meters, so it should display that. I want to add some more to this. So I'm going to press enter, and on my next line of code, I'm going to start with a plus sign to say plus some more. Continuing on with my string as an interpolated string, the $sign, I'm going to continue with has the value, and then I want the actual value of our height in meters variable to display. So I'm going to specify that within our curly braces. So this works just the same as our numbered parameter placeholders in our WriteLine statement, except that since it's an interpolated string, we're saying I'm just going to plop some variable names in there, interpolated within that string, and I want you to use that variable at that location. So we're going to run this, and we're really just going to be testing this console.writeLine statement. All the rest of the code in our file just declares variables that we never do anything with. So let's run this. And I get my expected output, the variable with the name of the variable height in meters, has the value, and then the value of the actual variable. So when we use an interpolated variable, we can easily replace the information within our curly braces within our string. I'm going to put a comment there. This is an interpolated string. Variable names are within the string. So that's what we'll call interpolated. Now I want to save this project. I'm done with it. But I'd like to create a workspace for all of my Chapter 2 projects. I have a couple of them now. So I'm going to use the File menu, and I'm going to choose Add Folder to Workspace. Now I want this folder, my basic variables, to be added. But I want to be able to give it a name. Let me add my other folder to that workspace, my basics. Oh, there we go. Now I've got basics and basic variables. I just need to name this workspace. So how can I rename it? Let's go to our File menu and choose Save Workspace as Chapter 2. I want it to be within my Chapter 2 folder, I think. Alright, that's where I'm going to save it. I'm in my Chapter 2 folder. I have both of these folders in my workspace. I'm saving my workspace. Ah, that worked. Now I have my Chapter 2 workspace with my basic variables and my basics folder. Let's close everything. And open it again. Let it all close all the way. So File, Open, Workspace from File. I'm going to go to my code folder, my Chapter 2 folder, and there's my workspace. I'm going to open that. And I see my basics project and my basic variables project. So awesome. We've got our workspace created with 2 projects in it. Let's end our video there and call it a success.